Hello, Internet. This is William Bibiani coming at you from Comic Con 2015. We are here with the fabulous and lovely Richard Armitage. You know him from the Hobbit movies, and he is taking over the daunting task of playing Francis Dollarhide in the third season of Hannibal. We went from Tom Noonan to Ralph Fiennes to Richard Armitage. That is great company. So how do you feel about taking over this iconic role?
Well, you said my name right, so you're not going to get eaten. That's for sure.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah,
how do other people pronounce it?
They Frenchify the end of it and make it sound much more posh than it really is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, you said it right. Okay. There's a real legacy to this role that I was aware of and have become increasingly aware of, down to fans of both of those movies and personal stories of people that met Tom when he was shooting it, and so I feel like I've had some kind of connection to it. I was a big fan of Manhunter. I haven't seen the Ralph Fiennes manifestation, but I didn't remind myself of those performances because I wanted to be clean of that when I was creating Francis for myself, and I really just used Thomas Harris's novel, which is so beautifully detailed, and anyone that hasn't read the book, I would highly recommend going out and taking a look at it, because the writing is extraordinary, and it gave me everything I needed, and with a role like this, you know, imagination is the only thing you can do. You can't really get too deep into that practical aspect of a character like this, so it's all in your mind, as it is in Francis's head, and he's kind of so uncomfortable in his own body and uncomfortable in his own head. They were the things that I really focused on.
I feel like Francis Dollarhide is one of the great sympathetic monsters that we have, and since you have to play Francis Dollarhide, I imagine you must have a lot of affection for him. Can you tell me about the softer side of Francis Dollarhide? Well,
it is a choice. I mean, you either really focus on what he does, and it alienates you from him, but Harris himself really, I feel Harris has an affection for him, and really he creates the crime first, and then he investigates the child that became that monster that was capable of dealing with that crime, and really I took the lead from the writer, and from the way Brian was and the writers' room at Hannibal were treating this character was to pull back the veil on the entire being, and how someone can come to do something as horrific as that, and it becomes a very, very much a human interest story. So, and a man capable of falling in love. I mean, it's one of the things that I've always been kind of fascinated with. Is how can people that commit such atrocities be capable of affection and love, and here is one.
One of the interesting things about Francis Dollarhide is that he feels he is becoming the Great Red Dragon. So do you feel as though when you're performing him physically, there is like a monster inside of you, that your body is going through a different motion because of that? Or can you tell me about that physical process?
Yeah, I worked with all kinds of things. I used, there's a Japanese art form called Buto, which is sometimes called the dance of death, and it's like a biological view of the body through movement, and it's kind of about torsion and anxiety and stretch, and I sort of used that. I also listened to a lot of quite disturbing music. I listened to Mika Levy's soundtrack to Under the Skin. I just felt there was something so kind of creepy about it, and here's a man who is so uncomfortable in his own skin, wants to become more powerful, so is like a snake trying to shed Francis Dollarhide and become the Great Red Dragon, and he's taken the Blake painting as his inspiration, and it's not really working, so and he's changing his body shape. He ends up eating the painting to try and digest and destroy the dragon, because he's at odds with himself within his own creation. Yeah. And in the novel, there's a great scene where the dragon appears to fight with Dollarhide, and it's a sort of allegory for him fighting his own demons, and we did shoot that in the series, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, actually I was going to ask, one of the things that Hannibal does is it takes a lot of Thomas Harris's original material and it remixes it, because we're familiar with a lot of it and they want to be surprised, but there's also a lot of interesting dramatic things to do with it. Can you tell me about some scene or moment that maybe won't be familiar to fans of the books, that maybe you can tease and let us know what to expect?
Well, I feel like actually most of the material that we used was directly out of the book, until the point in the book where Francis disappears, and then everything after that, which really is episode 13, is new and completely created by Brian Fuller and his imagination. So the final confrontation, which will be the finale of the series is all invented, and it's an extraordinary scene. The very last scene of the show is extraordinary, and as Brian was saying yesterday, Susie Sue has recorded a song specially for the end of Hannibal, basically,
awesome.
Which I gather is epic.
Yeah, well, that sounds amazing, and I'm very curious about the finale from your perspective, as an actor, as a fan. Do you feel that fans of the show are going to be satisfied with the season finale as a conclusion, or do you feel that it's going to leave a lot of questions left over?
I feel like there will always be questions because I guess Brian and the creators didn't really know if the show would come back, but they need a big button on the end of the series anyway. And I feel like every series should end in that way, that you could potentially leave it there. It also leaves doors open for whatever they want to do with it. But I, personally, from my angle of playing Francis Dolarhyde, it's an incredibly satisfying ending. And obviously I'm not going to give too much away, but Francis gets the what he deserves, basically.
That's interesting.
I'm curious what you think he deserves.
What we think he deserves, not what he thinks he deserves. Ooh, no. Okay, good.
Although he does. He transcends.
Good for him. Finally.
Yeah.
He deserves it. Awesome. Well, thank you very, very much. What are we going to see you in next after Hannibal?
I'm about to go to Vancouver to shoot a movie called Brain on Fire with Chloe Moretz and Carrie Ann Moss. So I start on Monday.
Fantastic. Well, we hope you have a good trip, and thanks for coming to Comic Con.
Nice to meet you.
Take care.